I absolutely adored this book with all of my heart and half of my soul. Hey guys, it's Sarah, and today I'm going to be reviewing Nocturna by Maya Motayan. Yeah, so this is a recent YA fantasy release. It was released May 7th, 2019. It is about 480 pages, and I read it in one day, like in 24 hours, which I hardly ever read YA fantasies that fast, unless I've like read it before, so it's a reread. But no, I blew through this book so fast. It was such an easy read, and I'm just so happy. So Nocturna is a Latinx-inspired world, a Latinx-inspired fantasy that centers on a face-changing thief and a risk-taking prince whose fates converge when they both accidentally release a powerful magic that they have to defeat. It is so much fun, and let me just get into what I adored about this book. So first and foremost, the writing is what I noticed from the very first page. It was very beautiful, it was very lyrical, it flowed very well. Usually whenever books are noted for being like gorgeous writing, I typically find it distracting, or I find it meandering, or I find it not very helpful to the plot. I usually like fantasies in particular to be very succinct and dry in the way that it's written. And this book used metaphors and similes and beautiful language, poetry essentially, to describe what's going on, and I didn't mind one bit. In fact, I found myself highlighting bits and pieces because they were just so gorgeous that I wanted to like save it forever. I wanted to put it in my pocket and just keep it around me forever because it described the way that a character felt perfectly, or it described a situation wonderfully, or it had some insight to it. Next. So after the writing, the next thing that I really noted at this point, the very beginning of the story, whenever the author was setting up the world and all of that, I didn't necessarily love the characters. They were okay, but what really reeled me into the story and really locked me in was the way that the world felt. It felt very comfortable, very well lived in. The atmosphere of the book was very different from a lot of YA fantasies, because typically we have the same setting over and over again. A nondescript European country during some nondescript medieval age time. And it's all very gray and very like, it's always raining and gloomy and everyone's poor and, you know, everyone is begging for food. That's what I think of typically when I think of YA fantasies, but this is the world in which Nocturna is set in is very alive. The kingdom is very bright and vibrant with different colors, and there's adobe architecture, and everything is bright orange or bright red or bright whatever. It's just a very colorful book, and it felt like a lot of fun to live in. And then also another aspect of the story that I loved a lot was the magic system. So the magic system was well established, it was very clearly defined, it was unique-ish in the way that it was presented, but regardless of whether or not it was unique, it was solid. Like, it was a solid magic system, which I absolutely adored. I adore magic that I can understand and comprehend, magic with risks and limitations. Ugh. And this book had that. And on top of that, magic was part of the culture, which I find a lot of YA fantasies typically skim over. But in this book, that's not the case, you know? The author describes, or the characters, I would say, describe like children breathing fire from their mouths and trying to see who can like blow fire the longest. Shopkeepers advertising dresses that change colors and just using magic to heat up their food and sell it as like a vendor, and just it felt very comfortable. It felt like something that was very well used, very well established, not just in the rules but in the way that people interacted with the magic. It was a comfortable, familiar thing. I don't know, it was just the atmosphere of the book was so enchanting. After the world building comes the characters. So it took me a bit of a time to actually like become infatuated with the characters, so to speak. And there are three main characters. There are side characters too, of course, but the three main characters would be the grieving prince, who at the start of the book is recovering from the death of his older brother. And then there's the faceless thief, Finn, who is a thief, which is not new to YA fantasy. I made this joke on Twitter where if you're like a poor heroine in a YA fantasy, you have like 3 roles that you can fill out: a huntress, a thief or a murderer. And Finn was a thief, but what made her unique was her personality. On one hand, it was very sarcastic, and I mean, we could all, she was a Lila Bard type figure, right? Not necessarily unique, but her backstory really made her stand out to me because the author really took time to flesh out who she was and why she was the way she was and why she refused to look at her own face, why she was constantly changing her mask. I'm sweating again, I'm sorry. It's Texas.
It's hot.
Yeah, so the faceless thief, and then there's Luca, who is the prince's cousin and also his best friend, his confidant. And just the three of them had to work together to try and like cage this magic that had been released into the world. And they were just so much fun. I cared for them so much. I feared for them at like certain points. I was like, oh, I want my babies to be okay. And it might have taken me like halfway through the book to fall in love with them, but once I did, I couldn't go back. I laughed at every exchange they had that was playful. I like tensed up whenever something bad was happening. I just adored the characters so much. And then there was the plot. So for me, the plot was very fast-paced, which was wonderful. The world building wasn't clunky like I mentioned earlier. It was very well done in my opinion. And that coupled with how fast the plot moved, I don't know, it was just really well done. I just had to turn the next page, turn the next page, turn the next page, which is always fantastic in a fantasy. Because usually my problem with YA fantasies is that they're so slow, like it takes a while for me to get into them, which is why I recently DNF'd Wicked Saints, which I might pick it up again at some point, but it was so boring. This book did not have that problem for me. It was the kind of book that once I picked up I could not put down. The characters were wonderful, the atmosphere, the world building, wonderful, vibrant. The magic system, well established. The writing was gorgeous, and just everything was so well done, and I can't wait for the next installment of this book. And I looked and it was like the author's debut novel. I was like, what the hell? It's a really solid debut novel. A lot of books you read it and you're like, okay, this is a good book, it has good potential, but you can tell that the author is like a novice. I could not tell. I put this book down and I'm like, okay, what else has this author written? I was certain that she had published multiple books before, you know? And then I was like surprised that this was her debut. But yeah, suffice to say, Nocturna was an absolute hit. I read it in 24 hours. I absolutely adored it. And I can't wait for the next installment. Like, that's my messy review of Nocturna by Maya Motain. I'll figure this out one day. Oh, I should have mentioned, so I feel like this book is a perfect book for someone who absolutely adored the Shades of Magic series, right? I feel like if you loved those books by V.E. Schwab, then you will absolutely adore this book. It's right up the alleyway. So yeah, if you enjoyed Shades of Magic, I feel like you'll enjoy this book. Pick it up, love it, adore it like I did. Let's give all our quaint to this author because she deserves it. She worked so hard and it shows in this book that is so wonderful. That's my spoiler-free review of Nocturna. 5 out of 5 stars. Highly recommend. Pick it up if you're interested.